Hello Aries, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. So this is a slightly different setup. I've already said this in all of the other videos, but I'm repeating it for each sign. It's a slightly different setup today. I am behind the camera instead of in front of it, obviously. So I'm doing this just this month, and then I'll go back to my regular filming style hopefully next month. So like I said, this will be for Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, and this will be a love and spirituality reading for the month of October, and I will also leave the link to the extended video in the description box down below, so be sure to check that out when you are done watching this one. So let's pull for you and see what's going on for this month, Aries. All right. When I was meditating on your energy, I did feel really calm. I wasn't feeling any type of hectic energy, but we'll see what the cards have to say. Past for Aries. The Page of Swords. The Two of Wands. In reverse, and then the Hangman in reverse. Okay, so overall I'm feeling like a lot of you in the past, this is happening in the recent past actually is what I'm getting, possibly the beginning of September. It could stretch back a little bit further, but in the recent past I'm getting that you came out of a period of stagnation. Some of you could have actually rushed out of this period, with the Hangman being in the reverse. It was possible that you were actually in a period of stagnation in order for you to evaluate a situation the right way, but it looks like you may have rushed out of it. So some of you, either this was you or this was the person that you were dealing with, possibly rushed out of a situation with someone. I'm getting the energy of, it's like you're in a connection with someone and things are not going well, and so the other person quickly rushes away, or possibly the other person, one of the people, did something to harm the connection and then rushed away without having to deal with it. I'm getting like a couple different messages. So the Page of Swords here talks about communication, and it could possibly be communication through social media or through emailing or texting. So I feel like in the recent past, whoever you were dealing with, this was your main mode of communication. So some of you could have had a long distance relationship, or it's possible that you were just not able to see the person. I am getting an avoidant energy coming up in this reading, so I'm not sure if this is you or if this is the other person, but it just feels to me like someone was avoiding a discussion face to face, and possibly just wanting to talk about it over the phone or wanting to talk about it through text. And I'm just getting like an energy of someone who is possibly avoidant in a situation. So let me see if I'm feeling anything else from that. Yeah, that's basically what I'm getting. It's like communication, but it's like distant communication. And if it's not distant, meaning that it's not like long distance or it's not over like phone or text, it could have been face to face, but I feel like it was communication that it's distance in the way that both people, when they communicate with each other, there's a disconnect. So even if you're talking to the person face to face, it's like you still feel off from them, like you still feel like you're not understanding each other or you're not getting each other. So I'm just feeling like a real energy of disconnect, and I feel like it's possibly because one person is more avoidant than the other and doesn't like to talk about their feelings or doesn't like to share their feelings, and the other person is a little bit more willing to be in conflict, or a little bit more willing to open up and talk about the problems, and the other person doesn't operate that way. So it looks like there's kind of like a disconnect. So the Two of Wands is here in the reverse, and again, with it being here next to the Hangman, I am feeling the energy of either you or someone that you were dealing with really avoiding a conflict or a situation, possibly needing to make some type of decision surrounding a connection or surrounding a situation that they're in, and just being very avoidant and not wanting to deal with it or not wanting to handle it is what I'm getting. Because the Hangman in the upright is sometimes the energy of being stagnant but it's usually for a good reason. Certain situations have to stay in limbo in order for you to learn or heal or grow through them the correct way. So I'm reading the Hangman in reverse, not as a positive thing, as in, you know, someone became unstuck from a situation, but as someone avoiding a situation. It could also be someone avoiding their thoughts. So it could be you possibly avoiding your thoughts, not wanting to be alone with your thoughts, not wanting to face your thoughts or face your feelings in some way, shape, or form. And the Two of Wands, I'm also getting the energy of someone possibly making a very poor decision. I'm just getting a lot of messages here. But overall, I feel like there is just a disconnect when it comes to communication, when it comes to you and someone else, or you and a group of people, because this could go for romance, it could go for family, it could go for friends. So just take it as it resonates. But that Hangman in reverse is disturbing me a bit because, like I said, sometimes you can read that as positive because it's like, okay, no one wants to be in the Hangman energy and be stuck, but sometimes things have to be stuck. Because if you rush out of a situation too quickly, sometimes you don't fully grasp the lesson, or you rush out of it and you rush on to something else and you may end up making the wrong decision. So that's the energy that I'm getting with that. So let's pull for the present. Okay, Aries, present position. Ooh, the Ten of Cups. Okay. The Page of Wands. And the Six of Cups. I feel like I need to move these cards up. And the Ten of Pentacles is at the bottom. So we have two tens showing up. I feel like I need to move these up. So we have two tens showing up in the reading. So that definitely signifies completion of a cycle. But wait a minute, the Ten of Pentacles is actually in reverse. So I feel like there is an emotional completion of a cycle because the Ten of Cups is here. But with the Ten of Pentacles being in reverse, it's a completion that could possibly be temporary is what I'm getting. It's like when you come to the end of something and you think it's over with, but then it comes back around because you didn't handle it the right way, or it didn't close off in the right way. That's the energy I'm getting. Those two cards usually aren't interpreted like that, but that's just what I'm getting intuitively. So the Ten of Cups is here in the upright. So the Ten of Cups usually represents emotional fulfillment, emotional stability, finding true happiness. As you can see in the card, it's a woman who is carrying life. So some of you could be pregnant or expecting a child, or finding out, or you just found out that you're expecting a child. But overall, it's like this emotional fulfillment or emotional happiness. With it coming underneath the Page of Swords, I'm just really feeling this energy of this person that you were possibly dealing with is someone who you consider your Ten of Cups, or who you want to have this Ten of Cups energy with, meaning that you see them as your happiness, or you see them as your source of emotional fulfillment. But with the Page of Swords being here, sometimes, like I said, it talks about kind of immature communication and not being able to really see eye to eye. And not necessarily because either person is purposely being that way. I feel like sometimes people just have different modes of communication, and sometimes there's a disconnect between the way that people communicate. So I'm trying to pick up the energy. I just feel really disconnected, and that's because I feel like a lot of you are feeling disconnected from someone that you love, or someone that you want, someone that you visualize yourself being with. Some of you are actually with this person at the moment, or you're in communication with this person, and you're trying to possibly rebuild a connection and get it to this point of the Ten of Cups. But I feel like the Ten of Pentacles is coming up in reverse, because it's like trying to build on a foundation where there's a lot of love, there's a lot of passion, but be careful that you're not building on fantasy. Because the Ten of Pentacles in reverse talks about the reality of a situation not being as, I guess you could say, logical or probable as you would think, because you could be lost in emotions, or that person could be lost in emotions. So it's like just being careful that this situation is not built off of fantasy, because the Ten of Pentacles coming up in reverse, like I said, can talk about reality being very different from the emotional state of things. Because the Ten of Swords is here in the upright. So we have 3 tens so far. So that talks about completion. So a lot of you are coming to the end of a cycle. And that doesn't mean that you're necessarily leaving a person or they're leaving you. The end of a cycle could very well mean that you are kind of completing the way that you've been thinking about the situation, or the way that you've been going about the situation. Or it could be a cycle ending and starting over with the same person. So I don't want anybody to be fearful if you're in a relationship, or you're watching this for someone else, thinking that I'm saying the end of a cycle, meaning that you're going to exit each other's lives, because this is general, so it could be different for different people. But I feel like it's the end of a cycle, meaning the end of an old way of doing things. So you could be faced with a lot of the reality of situations and kind of breaking free from the fantasy or the illusion, and really being asked to come to the realization of, is this person really someone that you can be with long term? Is this person really someone who you can have a grounded, stable future with? Or is this just someone who you feel a lot of passion and love for, and you're trying to build off of that? And this could, like I always say, this could do with family, this could do with a career. It doesn't always have to be romantic. So the Page of Wands is here in reverse. So there's a lot of page energy here. So page energy can sometimes be childish energy is what I'm reading it as. People being childish or people not communicating the right way. I also see it as people's inner child's kind of running amok. Because when you are in a connection where you feel very passionate about someone, it can bring up a lot of triggering, and it can bring out your inner child, so you can start to behave like a child. For example, throwing temper tantrums when you don't get your way, or, you know, being passive aggressive, not communicating the right way. This could be you or the other person. Like I was saying, being passive aggressive and not communicating the right way, picking fights for no reason, sabotaging the connection, just trying to make each other jealous. Like, that's the energy that I'm picking up. And it's not that I'm not picking up the energy of people being malicious. I'm just picking up the energy of, like, sometimes when you're in a connection where the connection is really deep, sometimes it really does bring up that triggering in that I don't want to say childhood trauma. It could be childhood trauma, but it really could just be your inner child just not knowing how to deal with the intensity of a connection, and it kind of going into this mode of protection where you start to self-sabotage possibly. The Two of Wands is here. So I'm wondering if some of you were dealing with someone who was juggling, or dealing with someone who just made a poor decision. It could be involving another person or not, but I'm just feeling like a poor decision was made because it has to do with inner child wounding is what I'm seeing. It has a lot to do with the inner child wounding, like making decisions based off of your inner child just kind of running the show, and not being able to communicate like an adult, not being able to handle the relationship or the connection like an adult. So just making very poor decisions that could lead to the demise of the relationship, even though it's like a desire for it to grow to something healthy. I feel like this reading is all over the place. I really hope that it's resonating and that it's making sense to you guys. So the Six of Cups in reverse talks about a reconciliation that is not happening, meaning that trying to bring a connection back together and it being kind of difficult to do so. Either really trying to bring it together physically, or possibly just thinking about bringing it back together. I'm getting a very opposing energy here with the Hangman and the Six of Cups in reverse. I feel like there is an imbalance. Like, one person in this connection is wanting the reconciliation and the happiness. That's why the energy is so scattered to me. It's like one person wanting like the reconciliation, the happiness, trying to work it out, but then one person could possibly be very avoidant and kind of running from the connection, or possibly just rushed off and made like a reckless decision that harmed the connection. So it's like one person who is possibly more, I don't want to say that they're more invested, but they're more willing to, I guess, put in the effort, and then one is more willing to be like the avoidant and kind of run away. If you're in the position where you are the one that's willing to put in the effort, it may be time to pull back and to not pursue, or not to chase, or not to overexert yourself, and to maybe start to see the reality of the situation. And I hope that this isn't coming across as you know, I just don't want to invoke any like fear in anybody or make anybody feel like, I don't know, because these connections are, they're difficult. Like, the energy I'm getting is like a difficult connection that you possibly could have put a lot of time into. So I know it's not good to hear like, oh, you need to give it up. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just more so saying that you need to maybe step back and look at it from a more realistic standpoint. Or you could be the person on the other end of this who's more avoidant, and the other person is needing to be more realistic. But either way, whenever you're dealing with someone and there's a lot of fantasy surrounding your connection, or there's a lot of emotion surrounding your connection, sometimes it's best to disconnect, so that then you could really get grounded and really look at it from a logical standpoint instead of a place from emotion. Because when we're caught up in emotion, it's very, very easy to mistake something that's supposed to be a lesson in short term for something that's long term. You see what I'm saying? So that is the energy I'm getting for that. I'm going to pull 3 for the future outcome. Okay, no, actually, before I do that, I'm going to read the Page of Wands out of the book, because that's what I've been doing for all of the readings. I've been pulling the center card and reading them out of the book, just to get more insight as to what is going on. So, the Page of Wands. I feel like this reading was mostly love. Usually I pick up on like career and stuff like that too, but I feel like take the messages as they resonate. It doesn't have to just be romantic. It can be any aspect of your life, and intuitively you'll know what I'm talking about when you hear the messages. So, the Page of Wands in reverse, it says the keywords are freedom from fear, exploration, adventure, and optimism. So, the shadow aspect of this, because it's in reverse, says you may be afraid to explore the shadowy aspects of yourself. Trust yourself, trust your instincts, know that you can navigate the dark forest, as the forest merely the darker parts of your psyche. Okay, there's like a typo in there. Basically what it's saying is that trust yourself, because when you explore the darker parts of yourself, you're just exploring yourself, so there's no need to be afraid. And it says it may not be well-charted territory, but it can be soon. And the mantra is, I hold the power of my inner light. So basically what that's saying is that this connection could possibly cause you to really have to dive deep into your shadow aspect. That's why I was getting the energy of an inner child. Possibly like it's bringing up childhood trauma or just childhood wounding, past wounding. It's just bringing up a lot of your shadow aspect. And that could be a very scary place because, like it said in the book, it's uncharted territory. Like, you have not explored it yet, but it's you, so there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of when you're exploring your depths or your pain. And sometimes these connections are meant to happen so that they can bring out that side. So let's pull 3 for the future the future outcome. Sorry, so let's say the future aspects, the future outcome, and we're gonna look at those in the extended. Okay, the Knight of Pentacles, the 4 of Cups, the 5 of Swords. So the Knight of Pentacles talks about an offer that possibly wasn't made, or someone taking a very long time to make an offer. I'm picking up very strong like soulmate love energy in this reading. Like sometimes I pick up like friends, family, career, but this I feel like I'm reading for a specific group who's dealing with like a specific person that they're very fixated on. So the 4 of Cups is in the reverse. So the 4 of Cups in reverse talks about a need to let go of the past, but we will clarify in the extended. And then the 5 of Swords is here as well, and the 5 of Swords, it talks about coming out of a state of ego, kind of like an ego death, where you no longer see things from a perspective of your own wants, your own desires that are driven by your ego, that's driven by that part of you that just wants to win, or that part of you that just wants to have the upper hand. It's a couple different ways that this card can be interpreted. And like I said, I won't know until I do the extended and clarify each one. So that is what you can expect in the extended. The link to that will be in the description box down below. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys over on Vimeo. Bye.